Alright.
Okay. Hi, Grace.
Hi, Sarah.
Okay. I want to start this off by just saying that it was really delightful meeting you at the Women's Movement Collaborative back in, I think it was October
Yeah.
this last fall, because I kind of knew you from the socials, and
Yeah.
we knew people, but I'd never met you. And so it was just really awesome meeting you there. It's a great event, wonderful people, and I still remember we had these mini breakouts, right? These spark storms where people could present a short thing of what they wanted to about something they were interested. And in your spark storm, you talked about energy. You talked about the feminine principles of energy. And there was such a passion, but a real grounded passion with that. Instead of like, it was just like grounded. And there was a lot of power there. And I remember looking around at everybody and they're like, in a good
Oh,
way. They were just,
yeah, yeah. That's
that
really
was
great to
lovely.
hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a fun thing to do. I'd never been part of the Women's Collaborative before. That was my first experience, and it was just such that specific thing. There were so many things, but it was just so nice to see people who were so passionate about this thing, whatever it was, share a
Mhm.
little bit. And at first, when I thought, "Gosh, how can I share in such a short amount of time? How am I going to do it?" But it just kind of, presented itself. So
Yeah.
it was great.
Sometimes when you get out of the way, things flow, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So I know a little bit about you. If you could give a little bit of your background, and because I said that you would sharing about the energy stuff that you do, if you'd
Hmm.
give a little bit about your background, how you got into that energy stuff, and what it is exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I started many, many years ago, over 20 years ago, as a into yoga, really enjoying teaching yoga and the mindfulness aspects of that. And it helped me a lot in my life.
Hmm.
And then I got divorced and decided I need to delve in a little bit more into the healing arts.
Hmm.
And I went to get my massage license. And I didn't really have any intention of doing massage per se, but something called me. I was like,
Hmm.
I just felt this calling, like this is what I had to do next. And
Hmm.
I just felt I listened and I went. And, here I was like 50 years old, and everybody else in the classes were like, 20, 21, but
Hmm.
I was so into it, like learning, all, the anatomy and everything else. And I was exposed to so many different things. And then I left. I got certified, licensed, and then I met people like Perry Nicholson, and with NKT and
Hmm.
neuroconnect therapy, and tried all these different modalities that really, really changed the way that I saw the body, movement, and I was really kind of cruising along, and I'd been introduced to energy in different ways.
Hmm.
I had done Reiki. I had had a powerful experience with Reiki in the past, with a huge, really master healer, and it was always in the back of my head, like, what is this thing that had such an effect on me?
Hmm.
And it just sat there. It was like a seed,
Hmm.
and because that was when my mom actually died 27 years ago today. Today's her
Mm.
anniversary. And it was 2 years after her death that I had this Reiki experience. And I remember the guy was like putting his hand over my body, and he got to my abdomen, and I didn't know what he was doing. I completely had no clue what I was in, for.
Hmm.
And I just wept. I wept like I'd never wept before. And it came from this depths of me,
Hmm.
And anyway, it was a profound thing. And I think it was just the grief that was,
Hmm.
processing through me. Anyway, fast forward, 5 years ago, I had another huge, grieving, dark moment in my life. And I went to a dark place, and is in that place that I found Qigong,
Hmm.
in helping me find my balance again, find
Hmm.
myself,
Hmm.
find the capacity to love myself, find my essence, and it just has changed me. And now I feel compelled to share it.
So what is Qigong? What is it?
So Qigong is 1,000-year ancient practice that's practiced in the East. And they use it for medicinal purposes, for spiritual purposes, for defense, self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just got so many layers to it. But Qi is life force.
Mm-hmm.
It's life force that emanates all life, that animates
Mm-hmm.
all life. And and gong, the other part of the word, is to cultivate, to play with, to grow energy.
Mm-hmm.
And people would be like, okay, well, why do we want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And at the foundation of everything, we are energy, we are vibration. We know that on a physics level.
Mm-hmm.
Science tells us that us on a subatomic level, we are our particles, neurons, electrons, are all just vibrations. And
Mm-hmm.
that is in a tree, that is in even inanimate objects, that is in us. And we are just vibrating at different frequencies. And understanding and being in tune with those frequencies can give us our power back, really.
So how does it work? How do you get in tune?
Yeah, great question.
Well, yeah.
Great question. So, much like radio, you tune into a
Mm-hmm.
frequency that you want to listen to,
Mm-hmm.
and you make a choice about that. I want to listen to CNN, or I want to listen to
Mm-hmm.
comic, or whatever. You make a
Mm-hmm.
choice. In this realm, it's like you choose a state of being. You choose an energy, which is, energy is a thought, energy is an emotion, energy
Mm-hmm.
is breath, energy is a lot of these things that you can say, okay, this energy of anxiety or worry is not serving me. I become aware of it. That's number one. I become
Mm-hmm.
aware of what I'm feeling in this moment. That's my entry point. And
Mm-hmm.
then is my intention? What do I want to create for myself? What different experience do I want? And I
So
tune into that frequency.
so do you just kind of have the thoughts and then just sit there and go, or is there more to it?
No, it's more to it. Yeah.
Okay.
In Qigong, it's breath, it's movement, it's intention. So it's mind, and
Mm-hmm.
it's visualization. So you bring those four things into the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so it brings your whole being into this idea of what you want. So it's not just sitting there thinking about it. It's moving your body, moving the breath, and having a visualization of it and an intention of it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, that just sounds absolutely wonderful. And you did a bit of that, I remember, at the Women's Movement Collaborative.
No,
Um,
I think the one
and
it was called showering chi,
yeah,
where
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But you practice a special kind of qigong that's more geared towards women, if I'm correct.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I studied, after I learned initial Qigong with Master Robert Pang, I was introduced to Daisy Lee,
Mm-hmm.
who taught this women's Qigong, which
Mm-hmm.
when I saw her, first of all, when I heard her speak, the energy of her presence
Mm-hmm.
and her ability to be strong in the feminine,
Mm-hmm.
this being able to show that you can be kind and soft but still be powerful, you
Mm-hmm.
know and I just loved her message. And also she speaks to hormonal considerations as we as women go through our whole lives, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
constantly transitioning from different stages. And so learning to flow within those stages, and honoring them, and realizing that there's an energy to different stages of your life, and to be in flow with them is incredibly powerful.
And that's different than how we usually approach different stages of life, because it seems like we, in our culture, we value youth, but then we expect youth to grow up so quickly. So nobody's ever happy where they're at, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a resistance. Also, there's a resistance to change. None
Mm-hmm.
of us like change and transitions. And
It's the
so
only constant.
it's the only constant, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like learning to to embrace like nature. Nature is our perfect example of embracing. We go from spring to summer to fall to winter, and nature doesn't resist. It just goes with the next phase, and learning to go through the phases of life with greater ease.
So it sounds like what Qigong, especially the style you practice for women, um, allows, it's an invitation for women to be able to flow through the changes, whether it's in the course of the day or their life or a month or whatever, but to flow through those changes with a little bit more grounding, a little bit more
compassion.
There we go. Yeah.
Love. I mean, I think that's the big thing, the biggest thing I think that we miss as women. We think that we need to nurture and love and give, but femininity is really about receiving.
Yes.
It's receiving, and receiving is actually letting go of a little bit more control. Giving is, we can give how we're going to give, how much we're going to give. That's a little bit more control in giving. But in receiving, it's like, okay, I'm opening up myself first to my own love. What a concept. That was like life-changing for me. Yes. It seems like such a, cliche, love yourself, but to really understand what that means, and the power of this understanding of abundance, that we can give ourselves, this abundance of love is within us. And once we fill our own cup, then we have it to share. And we don't share it with the conditions. We don't share it with, wanting it to come back a certain way, or, whatever. We're doing it out of just sheer, oh my gosh, I feel so much love that I want to share.
It's kind of hard to share when you're like coming from a place of scarcity where you're kind of like this.
Yeah.
And it's also, that's not a way to live. Like, oh my God, or ready to go.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a way to live, right?
Yes.
It's not about fighting with the world, and it's not about being afraid of the world.
Yes.
Or life.
Yeah. And when you can give those things to yourself, then you're not looking to external forces to feed you. You're not looking for that next thing, that next person. You're here, you're good, and then you're ready to experience the world as it is.
It sounds like it also invites you the opportunity to be grounded in faith, that life itself supports you.
Yes.
And it's there for you. And as long as you kind of tune into that, and it sounds like you do that through the movements, thoughts, and everything,
and
rather than trying to fight that. Yeah.
And what you, to your point, what the big thing with Qigong, I think, is this idea that earth energy is always supporting us. So yes, we are always supported, and we take that for granted, that we have this earth, this living thing that supports us all the time. Supports our being.
Kind of like when I went for a walk this morning in the Arboretum here in Ann Arbor. I was taking steps. The ground always supported me with that.
Yes.
It didn't all of a sudden, I didn't fall off into an abyss.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It gently supported me.
Yes, and that awareness is so empowering. And then the other part of Qigong is the awareness of something bigger, whether that bigger thing is nature, the universe, the cosmos, God, whatever you choose to see, that there is much, there's this enlightened way of being as you are grounded.
So now I'm curious. Do you have, and I'll use the term simple, not as to take the power out of it, but just a simple movement of Qigong that would be an example of what you might use to help ground, and especially in these times of stress and living under COVID-19?
Sure. Yeah, I would love to show you something out of the women's Qigong program that I do, and I think it speaks to so many things that we as women. It gives us an opportunity to nurture these things, and it's called Flying Phoenix, and it's
I like the title.
Yeah, so it's a balancing movement. So it gives us the opportunity to first balance our breath. So we're expanding with the breath. So we're moving our hands and the breath at the same time. So we're syncing that. And the longer and slower we are with that, the more we can regulate the breath. So we balance the breath. We balance our minds because we're crossing the midline, and we're connecting the right and left hemisphere of the brain, which is so empowering, as we know, to the nervous system. We are balancing our emotions because we're giving ourselves love. We're helping ourselves heal from past grief and sadness. And so it's this multidimensional, holistic way of looking at balancing yourself. So
lovely. Could you demonstrate it?
I would love to. I'm gonna go back and stand up and demonstrate, and I'll do it and kind of show you what I'm doing as we're going.
Wonderful.
Okay. So here we are. You start with your feet hip distance apart, and the standing posture is very soft. So the knees are kind of soft, and you're allowing the energy to flow through you. And you start with your hands in front, so they're facing one another. And this is part of the visualization of Qigong. I'm visualizing that I have this beautiful ball of light that is emanating from my womb, this creative essence that we have as women. I have this ball in between my hands. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sink down deep into the earth, feel her support. And I'm going to rise and expand my wings as I take flight. And I come back to my ball. Inhale, I rise above my challenges and come back to my ball. Inhale, expand my wings, and exhale, come back to my ball. Now the fourth time, I'm going to expand, bring my wings in to gather the resources that I have to press out with my palms, to press against the walls of limitation, but realize that I can be soft, so I'm going to let go of my hands at the end. I come back in, I set my boundaries, take up space, but realize I can let go of that hardness. I do that again. Inhale and exhale, expand, feel my strength and soften. And then the next thing we do is we're going to let this, my hands come down. I sit back like we're sitting in a chair. I gather the earth with my hands. I bring her nurturing energy into my lungs, where we as women, as most people, hold on to grief and sadness in our lungs. So here we are. I'm crossing the midline. So this posture in and of itself is so healing. Look at that. I'm giving myself a hug. I'm feeling
awesome.
My own love, my own compassion. And I take this time to, think about all the things that I've had to go through that have really made me stronger, more resilient. And so I take a big sigh here and let go of any sadness that I'm willing to let go of. And then I breathe in again. On the exhale, I pull off the sadness off of me. And then I let earth take it from me. And then I let myself expand with a new way of understanding and new love and compassion for myself. And I come back to my ball. So that's the whole thing. And we would do that, as many times as feels good. But when you're describing it, you're not really in it. But to be able to feel this expansion is just.
I was feeling it just watching.
Yeah. And when I watched Daisy Lee do it, I mean, the grace of movement and her effortless flow of just, it's compassion in motion. So.
And I like the part about taking the grief and then letting it return to the earth so it can then be recycled, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
She supports us with that. She's a beautiful composter of the things that no longer serve us. And then, we can bring in what we want. We can bring in an energy of love and compassion and understanding. And then when we give it to ourselves, we have so much to offer the world, that compassion. So
I think that it's absolutely wonderful. And to me, there's a lot of different movement practices out there that are very, that can get you strong physically.
Yes.
This goes, to me, gets you deeper into yourself, to deeper in the layers of you, who you are as a being, and to your very fiber, to the vibration,
Absolutely. And
so you can strengthen that.
yes, and it's a great point, Sarah, because it's as much as you don't think that you're gaining strength, even on a physical level, energy, when you move energy, you allow the stagnation that might have been there to make you weaker,
Hmm.
actually make you more vulnerable. That gets shifted. And, it's like a river that flows becomes much more strong and clear. And we're much like that river. We get, the more we move that and allow it to flow in different ways, the
Hmm.
stronger we can become physically, emotionally, spiritually.
The way I look at it is tension on any level, whether it's physical in the muscles, emotional, mental, spiritual, excess tension on any of those is going to affect all the others. It's basically stress, and it can allow distress to enter the system. And you need some distress to get stronger. But the problem is we
Absolutely.
tend to hang on to it more. And in what you just did was like releasing and then coming back around,
Yes. And
to let it
honoring
to
and
reform.
honoring the sadness.
Yes.
It's like they've
Yeah.
been there to teach you, and
Hmm.
it's not bad. There's not That's the thing with Qigong.
It
There's no
just
bad or
is.
good. It just is. And it taught you something, and it
Yeah.
made you resilient. And I think if
Hmm.
I were to give people a message about what's going on here too, is like, think about all the struggles that we've gone through in our lives and
Hmm.
how it's made us who we are. And this
Hmm.
is just another opportunity to say, okay, how is this going to make me feel stronger in different parts of myself?
It's almost like it takes all that and it allows you an opportunity to transmute that
Yes.
energy so they can serve you more and serve all the world and Mother Earth rather than just
Yeah. It's like, yeah, just
on
put
you.
your
Yeah.
big girl pants on and move along, you know?
Yeah.
And I did that for many years. So I was hardened, it's like I was an athlete. I was going to, I'm tough, I've learned to kind of soften, and I can still be strong.
Hmm.
I can still be strong.
I recently heard a couple women talking, they're shamans, and they were talking about the notion of power with versus power over.
Mm,
And this is
beautiful.
power with. It's not power over. It's not trying for domination. You're just working with what's there and you're allowing things to recycle that no longer serve you
Yes.
so that they can come back around and serve all of life.
Yes. Yes. Because energy can't
Lovely.
be destroyed. It can be transmuted, you know?
Yes. So we can become little transmuters by doing this.
Yes.
That's
Exactly.
awesome.
I love that, Sarah.
Now, if somebody wants to find you in the socials, where would they
Yeah.
find you?
Well, I'm under the name of Nalu Way.
What's that
Nalu,
mean?
yeah, Nalu is a Hawaiian term that is actually means to go with the flow. It's a surfing term to
Hmm.
become the wave. So you
Hmm.
go with the flow of life. And that's where I feel like I allow and help people do that in different ways. And
Hmm.
Qigong is one of those ways. So you
Hmm.
can find me at naluway.com or at naluway on Facebook or on Instagram.
Lovely. I'm so glad that we had this conversation
Me
today.
too. Me
I'm
too.
excited to practice that myself, the flying phoenix.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Tell me how it feels.
I will do that.
Yes.
And anybody who happens to watch this, please chime in and let Grace know, because
Yeah,
I think it'd be wonderful for you to do a session,
yeah.
a
And
little
I'm
bit more
happy to do
session at
it.
Women's Movement Collaborative.
Do it with a group too. That would be kind of fun,
Mm,
because energy kind of grows with more people. So,
yeah,
uh,
awesome.
all right.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you. Have a wonderful day
You
and keep on
too.
flowing.
I will. You do the same.
Okay,
Take
take
care.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.